Damn, it feels good to be a gangster. A real gangsta-ass MAGA play his cards right. A real gangsta-ass MAGA never let up on the gas, cause real gangsta-ass MAGA don't mind fights. And riggers always gotta get clapped.
So, Representative Massey, who's a guy I like a lot because he seems to be maybe the only guy in Congress who tells the truth all the time, or most of the time. Here he is ripping Democrats and Republicans. And let's listen to it.
I would call him Mr. Massey.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here?
Wait a
This
minute.
is political theater.
Wait. Hold on. Go back to Steph.
All right. Stargazer says, have Duncan Trussell on. I saw a couple of you recommending Duncan to come back to the show. I like that recommendation. Thank you. The Jimmy Dore Show should interview of Darius J. Wright. He's a trip and did some YouTube interviews. Thank you for the recommendation of Darius J. Wright.
Okay,
Back to
come
Jimmy.
So here's Thomas Massey. He tweeted out this evening, I described how the speaker is using the continuing resolution to set up a government funding crisis the weeks before. So they won't pass a real budget. They keep passing these continuing resolutions or CRs. And then they drop it out and it's set to expire right before Christmas. So you got it ready. Why on Christmas? So we can pressure members to vote for a bill they haven't read by using their desire to see families on Christmas Eve against them. So let's listen to what he said.
Recognize for questions. Well, here we are. This is where I said we were going to be 3 weeks ago before the drama started. I said there would be some drama with the bright, shiny object called the SAVE Act. I said that was going to get stripped off and you were going to get a clean CR. I also predicted this would fall right before Christmas. And I believe this does fall on December 20th. Now, why have we picked December 20th? Because it's the same reason we always have December 20th. Everybody up here is human. There are no AIs or robots in Congress. And when you get to December 20th, you're 5 days from Christmas. You're 4 days from Christmas Eve. And you desperately want to be there with your family. So this is when the leadership here has the maximum influence. And again, I'm talking to the Democrats and the Republicans because you've seen it on the Democrat side of the aisle. They love to pick the week before Christmas for this showdown because you can smell the jet fuel fumes over at DCA. It smells like Christmas, that you're going to get to go home and open presents. I've been in HC5 when literally the Speaker of the House, not the Speaker we have now, walks in and says, if you vote for this, you can go home and unwrap presents with your kids, and if you don't vote for this, you're going to spend Christmas here with Nancy Pelosi. And then the chant starts, vote, 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 vote. Literally, people get enthusiastic to vote for something that they haven't read. So let me predict what we're not going to do on December 20th before I take a guess at what we're going to do. What we're not going to do, we're not going to do 12 separate bills. We are not going to spend this time. We've got a few months between now and December 20th. We could go back to working on appropriations bills. We are not going to do this. This sucker, whatever happens on December 20th, whether it's another CR to kick the can down the road for 3 more months, or whether it's an omnibus that funds all of government with one bill, it's going to be written behind closed doors. And every lobbyist in this town is going to try to attach their little thing to this bill. This train is leaving the station on December 20th. It's the only one that we know is going to pass. They call it up here must-pass legislation. So everybody's going to try and get their little thing on this bill, whatever it is on December 20th, whether it's another continuing resolution or another omnibus. It's not even really a prediction that I'm making. I'm just telling you what has happened for 12 years, regardless of whether Democrats are in charge or Republicans are in charge. There may be a little twist. We may do half of a CR. It'll be a whole CR, and half of it will end in February, and half of it will end in April, and they'll convince you they got something more clever this year than they had last year. But it's going to be the same old thing, warmed over, written behind closed doors, rolled out here. We're not going to have time to read this thing. That's also predictable. And we're going to be told, vote for this and you can go home and open presents with your kids. Don't vote for it and you're going to be stuck here. And there will be people, it pulls at heartstrings. We are humans. And that's why I think it's really disingenuous or despicable, really, to pick 4 days before Christmas Eve to put this bill on the floor. The bill I'm talking about, obviously, nobody here knows what it is yet. And we're not going to have time to read it, but people are going to be inclined to vote for it because they just want to be with their family. I would encourage people not to vote for this CR. There's still time to do other things. This is not the 30th. And if we were going to do something, we should do a full year CR. Why do we want to set up a shutdown crisis the week before Christmas? Why would we even want to set up a shutdown crisis next spring? We shouldn't. We should fund the whole thing for a year. And what that would allow us to do is we could start working on, regardless of who comes into power, it would give you 12 months to work on the 12 separate bills. We could start working on those on October 1st. But we're not going to. We're not going to do any of that. We're particularly not going to have a CR that lasts more than 6 months because written into law, signed by Joe Biden, voted for by Chuck Schumer, but introduced by myself as a provision in law that says if you go past April 30th on a continuing resolution, you're going to get an automatic 1% cut to everything. Everything that's appropriated, not the mandatory, as they're called, programs. So that's why you're not going to get a CR that goes for a full year. That would, if you're going to do a CR, the most responsible thing to do would be a 1-year CR. But nobody up here can stand a 1% cut to spending. That would be like, back home, that sounds completely reasonable. But up here, that would be the end of the world to get a 1% cut. So that's why we're not getting a 1-year CR, which, if you're going to do a CR, would be the most responsible thing. And the reason you're getting a CR that ends December 20th is so you can pressure these members using their family, basically taking their Christmas hostage. And I think that's wrong, and I don't think we should do it. And I yield back.
So you want to hear remember he said just size I predicted 3 weeks ago? Let's listen to him predict it. Want to hear him predict it? Here it is.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here? This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right here. It's all posturing, it's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. We always get a CR in September, and then we get an omnibus. Sometimes there's a twist on that. We might get the omnibus before Christmas, but if we're not good, it comes after Christmas. But that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. You know, it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. What should we be doing? It's already been discussed. We should have done 12 separate bills. We should have done 12 separate bills. But again, whether Democrats are in control or Republicans are in control, we never do the 12 separate bills. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state, and Republicans want to grow the military-industrial complex. And we're eventually going to get together, and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution. We are empowered with these things. Most important of the things we do is the funding, and that's the big lever we have. You know, I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over-prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of, automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with, this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed. That is the tool that we have, is the funding. Why are we funding things we don't like? We don't have to. Well, it's because we're addicted to spending. And this doesn't do anything about the addiction at all. So let me touch on 1.2 here that I think is important. Is, you know, a couple years ago, or a summer and a half ago, I suppose now, we did something where we allowed the debt limit to be increased. But as a condition of that, we said if you do a CR that lasts past April 30th, everything's going to get cut 1%. And that, to me, seemed like at least a little tinge of fiscal responsibility was creeping in. But now I notice that this CR, instead of going 1 year and giving us time to do the 12 appropriations bills, is going to go 6 months. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen because this goes 6 months. Number one, it ends in March 28th, on March 28th. Well, the automatic cuts happen on April 30th if the CR went past that. So that is exactly why the Speaker chose a 6-month CR, is so we don't have even the chance, a threat to this town, it's a threat of a 1% cut. We don't want to even, this is like T-ball. The 1% cut is on the tee, and Republicans won't even swing at it. So instead, we're going to do a 6-month CR instead of a 1-year CR. That sets up another crisis next spring where we can do another pretend fight sometime around March. And that fight it'll be the same fight regardless of who wins the presidency and who's in charge of the Senate and the House. And we're basically going to get pretty much the same result. But that's 6 months from now. In the meantime, we can kick the can down the road. All of these things that we've exposed and all of these hearings are going to continue to get funded. But wait, there's a bright, shiny object on this CR. I've never seen one of these. I have never seen a bright, shiny object attached to one of these must-pass bills. Oh, wait, no. It actually happens. There always is. A bright, shiny object. A bauble, if you will. A little something to get excited about. This SAVE Act. It's going to save us all, right? And by the way, this is good political theater. I do like this part of it, that we're going to see almost every Democrat cast a vote so that illegals can vote in our elections. I mean, that's pretty clever on the part of our speaker to set that up, make you all take that vote. But here's what he's going to do after you take that vote. He's going to take it off. The bright, shiny object goes away. It's Lucy in the football again. And the American public is all revved up. Yeah, we're going to get the SAVE Act. We're going to save these elections. We're going to stop the illegals from voting. Really? How are you going to do that in like 6 weeks? I think they're already registered if they're going to vote. Some of them probably already voted. This SAVE Act ain't going to save anything. And particularly because it ain't ever going to become law. It's a false promise to get all the Republicans half pregnant. And then you're going to get fully pregnant by the end of September when you vote for this CR. It's not going to have this, I mean, I hate to break this to you. I mean, the Democrats already know this. I'm not telling you anything special. I hate to break it to the Republicans. You ain't getting the SAVE Act. It is not going to stay on this bill. Why? Because we're going to cave. We're going to cave. Is it a fight worth having? Absolutely, it's a fight worth having. Make those Democrats say they want illegals to vote. Make them take that vote as many times as you can. And then make them go to the ballot box in November. But that's what it is. It's political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater. And with that, I yield back.
Well, if he refuses to be a thespian in this failed theater, I say Sean Penn should step in and say, I'm willing to be a thespian in this failed theater because work is dried up. So it would be great if a guy like that could be president, but as we've seen over and over, guys like that are never allowed to become president. Most you can do is get a couple of terms as a congressman. And then if he gets too loud and creates too many troubles, they'll just gerrymander him out like they did to Dennis Kucinich. But it's amazing how he predicted all that. So that was 3 weeks ago, and here we are 3 weeks later. Watch this.
Kentucky's recognized for questions.
Well, here we are. This is where I said we were going to be 3 weeks ago before the drama started. I said there would be some drama with the bright, shiny object called the SAVE Act. I said that was going to get stripped off.
It did.
And you were going to get a clean CR. I also predicted this would fall right before Christmas. And I believe this does fall on December 20th. Now, why have we picked December 20th?
So there you go. Kind of amazing. We should try harder to get Thomas Massey on the show.
Okay.
We should call his office and things, and we should really put the pressure on because I'd love to talk to him. So that's how they run the government, just so you know, and it's run by lobbyists, and they like it. They like doing it this way, so they can spend more money. It's printed money. It's not even taxpayer money at this point. It just increases inflation and the debt and all that stuff. Okay, over to Steph.
All righty. Okay, Skinny Ribsy says, got to meet you all in Grand Rapids on my 20th birthday. Can't wait to do it again. 10 minutes from my house in Columbus. I promise I won't be completely hammered this time. Good choice. Very good choice. Hard to talk to completely hammered people. All right, and that's including me. Hey, Steph, have you and Jimmy watched the Omni-War Symposium that Children's Health Defense put out this week? No, but Black Dingo... Sounds like I've got homework. Thank you. Gritty image photography. Tell Jimmy he helped me awaken. Changed my life. I just did. Thank you, Gritty. If you know a handy plumbing person, you can install a 6-stage reversal osmosis filter under your sink and not spend as much as Berkey. It also remineralizes the water. I found mine on eBay. Look at you, Jewel. Jimmy, Steph, did you hear Telegram CEO? This is interesting. Jimmy, here you go. You tell me when you're ready to hear this one.
I'm ready.
Jimmy, did you hear Telegram CEO sold out to the French government? Users sent a message their identity and ISP addresses released to
that's why they
East
throw you
and
in
West
jail.
governments' VPNs removed by Apple.
That's why they throw you in jail, so you'll comply. They didn't throw him in jail so he wouldn't. That's what happens. That's why they threw Lula in prison. That's why Julian Assange is such an amazing hero, because he didn't crack. Everybody else does. I probably would crack. They threw me in prison. I don't know what I would do. But that's why Julian Assange is such a hero. So yeah, I didn't hear about that. No, I didn't hear that. That's horrible.
Coffee John.
I mean, so here. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk more about that in a second.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jimmy. Coffee John says SLH grad 87, and the story of the kid wore a dress. Jimmy, SLHS? Where'd you go to school?
St. Lawrence High School.
Oh, so Coffee John says SLH grad 87. And the story of the kid who wore a dress was legend.
No kidding.
Of course, it was you. Love from Florida. Coffee John. Wow.
Really? I didn't know people knew about that story.
Thank you, Coffee John. Coffee John, did Jimmy have Mr. Kroc in high school?
Yes, I did.
He was the best teacher of literature. Wow, Coffee John.
He wasn't especially fond of me, Mr. Kroc. I liked Mr. Kroc. He was a great teacher of literature. He dressed like a clown. And I think he did it on purpose. He dressed like he would have a lime green suit jacket and a bright orange tie and brown pants, and he was always mismatched and in a flamboyant way, and his hair was crazy too, like Gene Wilder.
Gosh, I kind of like that.
And he would go, you come to me. He
can
would
show
say,
Jimmy.
like if you don't study, and you're gonna flunk. And then you're going to be here this summer. You know where I'm going to be? I'm going to be on a boat banging my lady. So have a good summer. That's what he would say.
That is so funny. That was Mr. Kroc.
I'm going to be on a boat banging my... This is at a Catholic high school.
I thought that was... For some reason, I thought that was Brother Ford.
No, that he said things. He said crazy things too.
All right. Come back to Steph as Jimmy's scrolling for something. I'd recommend my books for required reading, but I like them on the down low, so you're lucky, Steph. Vienticus, thank you, Vienticus. Why did the DOJ release the Trump hit reward note when they usually don't release these kinds of evidence? Are they possibly putting the word out into a larger market? Brewdog, good question, Brewdog.
You tell me. All right, ready?
All right, back to Jim.
All right, straight up, dog. All right. Why the fuck he keep looking? Why is he looking at me, dog? Why the fuck you keep looking at me? Stop staring at me.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit
Isn't it swell? The memes make themselves. They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
At this time, more than any other time, revolution is necessary. It is necessary. Not only based on what has happened with the MOVE organization, the babies that have been murdered, MOVE adults that have been murdered, bombs being dropped on us, but past that to what is happening with all black people, so-called minority people, money poor people. This government, as has been said earlier, has waged war on us. But something about us, particularly here in America, we don't really understand that. We don't really know what war is. For black people, for poor people, that people see as good, that they wasn't forced to do, that they didn't do to try to keep black people appeased, and calm down so that black people wouldn't riot. A prison situation is a crystallized example of that. You can make phone calls in prison. They have movies in prison, but they don't have those things because they just want to be nice to prisoners. They have those things because they know damn well if they don't have, people being able to contact their family, if they don't have, facilities for people to sit there and watch movies, people are going to be frustrated, upset, and they're going to direct that frustration at them prison administrators, and they're going to have riots on their hands. They're going to have people in them prisons turning them prisons out. That's why they have movies. That's why they have access to phones the way they do. And a stop to it when we don't like it, or encouraging it when it's something that's in our interest. We have to call the shots. The people have to take the reins of this system and start dictating what we need, what needs to be done. And, taking the initiative to do it ourselves. We can't rely on this system. Don't people see what's happening? Every single confrontation that MOVE people have been involved in, every single issue, oppression, economic issues, every single issue facing our people, is something that can be dealt with very, very simply. All people got to do is make their wishes known. All people have to do is stand up and say, listen, we're not accepting that. Unity is the key. Unity is the key to revolution. Revolution ain't nothing to be afraid of. It ain't nothing to shy away from. Revolution, contrary to what officials, this system and those backing the officials running the system, want people to believe that revolution means violence, means blood in the street. I'm saying it can get to that point, but it don't have to be violent. You know, when people come together and take a strong stand on an issue, this government don't have no choice but to listen. Where you think they get their authority from? They don't have no power, but they do have authority to do certain things. Where you think they get it from? They get it from us, from the people. You know, they get it from us accepting the things that they do to be done to stop it. Then you have some people who want to then turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, it's the best we have, and want to make excuses. The time for excuses is over. It's over. You know, every man, woman, and child has to be involved in this revolution. Not only has to be, but is, whether you want to be or not. I mean, our babies gave their lives for this revolution on May 13th. You know, men, women, and children were murdered. And not just move babies, you know. What about all of the young men, women, you know, children 8, 9 years old shot down on the street by cops, you know, by drug pushers? I mean, you know, where do you think that mentality comes from? It comes from this system, from the mentality of this system of getting over, you know, making a quick buck, you know. I'm saying that's where that needs to be done to stop it. Then, you know, what I want people to really, really understand is that it's past time. It is past time for poor people, black people, you know, to realize that this system has failed you. It has failed you. You can't get nothing from it. And what people got to do is withdraw our support from it and start doing for ourselves. That's what we got to do. You know, how long are people going to sit back and beg, you know, this government to do what's right when for hundreds of years all you've gotten is a slap in the face? All you've gotten is this government kicking your ass. That's all. That's all black people have ever gotten from this government.